Brexit, from a global perspective, is incredibly important because it creates an unprecedented level of flux and uncertainty. When we look at the MENA region, there's a few different ways that it's going to impact us. One, from a foreign policy point of view, I think that can't be neglected. The EU as an institution is weaker without the UK on the foreign policy stage. So you can anticipate that the EU will play less of an interventionist role in this region in terms of the peace process, in terms of anti-terrorism, in terms of Iraq, Syria, Libya, Yemen. Now the counter-argument to that would be that the UK has a huge amount of foreign policy experience in this region, not least because of the special relationship they have with some of the Gulf countries. The question is, will their proverbial plates be full and they'll be too busy? Or will they act in a more self-interested or be motivated more by self-interest? So there's a foreign policy angle to this as well. Then there's trade. I think the UK is going to identify this part of the world as an important trading partner. We're talking about $18 billion last year in trade between the UK and the Middle East. Priority markets for the UK will be Saudi, will be the UAE. You already have Saudi making comments that free trade agreements, they're having conversations about them with the UK. The Minister of Investment and Commerce has made a statement around that. My assumption would be that that's extremely tentative and a very early stage, because if I'm a country and I want to create a trading partner or I want to create a free trade agreement with the UK, I want to know their relationship with the European Union, of course. So that's an important part of it. And when you look, this is a really key point, for British businesses coming in, that can create further competition for some of our members, or you're a British business hoping to exploit some of the opportunities created by free trade agreements. The point I would stress is this is going to take a really long time. According to UK Treasury analysis, we remember, and this is pre-Brexit analysis, so people can interpret that as they may, but the UK needs to create some kind of trading relationship with the EU, with 50 other states, and it needs to start free trade agreements with 67 other states. So the UK is going to be tied up with trade negotiations for a very, very long time. The UAE and Dubai as well, of course, has an incredibly special relationship with the UK, going back to the Trucial States. Now, where it impacts Dubai, I think clearly from the trade point of view is one issue, but then drilling down a little bit further into the debate, I think tourism has to be the area. And for a lot of our members, tourism is a very important GDP contributor for Dubai, of course, so that has an impact across all of our membership, but it also spills into the B2C, those selling into consumers. And if you look, you're talking the UK as a source market for Dubai is the third largest source market. You look at Q2 data, we're looking at around 600,000 people from the UK came to Dubai. Now, I think, and this is just, I would assume a logical inference, if I'm Mr. and Mrs. Smith in Manchester, I'm looking at the economy in the UK and projections of it at best softening. You look at inflation eating into my purchasing power. You look at the currency issue. Dubai has just got 10% more expensive relative to the dollar, and of course we're pegged to the dollar here. So if I'm Mr. and Mrs. Smith, the likelihood is I'm going to say Dubai is a pretty expensive location, a wonderful place to go on holiday, but an expensive location. You look at ADR, average daily rates. For Q1, Dubai was the most expensive hotels in the world. I think a lot of holiday makers in the UK are going to decide to holiday closer to home. Germany is the 8th biggest source market for the UAE. The euro's not in great shape. You have Chinese policymakers depreciating the yuan. You have the ruble still struggling. So from a tourism perspective, this potentially can then spill into retail, into leisure, into F&B, into potentially luxury. So this has a broader impact. And then for the B2B members, with Dubai being an important GDP contributor, that has an important impact on the government-related entities in Dubai focused on generating revenue through tourism. And what happens then is they decide to pull the financial reins in, and there's less projects happening as well. So it can impact all of us. So it's a really key issue.